All right. Good evening, my beautiful bastards. So, what the hell do we got going on tonight? Well, as was kind of the case with the last one of these streams or videos that I did, I had a buddy who had wanted some tips in some basic room clearing techniques and stuff like that a while back, and I had done this pretty much this exact same stream before, and Twitch had deleted it, had deleted the VOD, and I'd never transported it over to YouTube because lazy. Uh, so he couldn't go back and watch it, and I was like, well, fuck, I'll kind of run through it again. Hopefully more guys will be able to catch it this time, and I'm gonna make sure to send it over to YouTube as well, so that guys can go back at any point in time and be able to watch this stuff. Uh, Now, I'm thinking about kind of turning this almost into a series, at least for a little bit, kind of these tips and tricks things, as I've already done the kind of urban combat tips and tricks, and now I'm going to be doing the room clearing. I think I may do kind of some basic fire maneuver for another one, as well as some convoy operations. You guys had some requests to see how to do convoy operations specifically in an urban scenario. So yeah, I'm thinking about turning this into a little bit of a miniature series. We'll see, how many kind of streams or videos that we get out of it, and hopefully you guys actually pick something up from it. So that being said, make sure you guys say something in chat, or when this goes up on YouTube, say something on YouTube if that is something you guys would be interested in. So I'm not, just wasting my time coming up with shit to show you guys that you don't really give a shit about. That being said, what we're doing tonight, as I alluded to there, and as the title says, we're going to be going over some basic tips in terms of how to clear a room, responsibilities of everybody within your element, depending upon the size of your element, and mostly kind of how you move through a house. Who's going to go where, who's looking where, when you hold, when you push, just little things like that. But before we actually get into it, there's a couple of things that I want you guys to understand. Firstly, as with anything, especially in an urban scenario, there's a million ways to do one specific thing. So despite me telling you, hey, this is a way to do it, or, so on, it's a way to do it. It's not the way. There's never just one specific way that you have to do something. So keep that in mind. Two, a lot of the stuff that I'm going to show you tonight is a little above and beyond anything that you're ever going to need in ArmA. Specifically because the vast majority of buildings that you're ever going to be clearing in ArmA are never going to be the size or scale of what you're going to see me showing you tonight in terms of how to work through it. However, there are some exceptions to that. Some of those very tall apartment buildings, things like that, where they are a fairly large building, you do need a full team in there, if not a full squad sometimes. So again, vast majority of buildings you're going to clear in ArmA are one, maybe two rooms, maybe two stories. So you don't really need a full four-man element inside, but it's still good to know how to do it. And if you can do it with four guys, you can do it with two. People don't always understand that, why we say that. If you can do it with four, you can do it with two. Really, the other two guys within an element, when you're doing a four-man breach, they're pretty much just there as extra firepower. The vast majority of the time, they're covering sectors and stuff like that that are already somewhat covered by your two primary guys, your one and two. 3 and 4 oftentimes, like I said, they're just kind of there for the added firepower. There are times in bigger buildings where obviously they come into more play. You got to split your element into two-man teams and stuff like that. But in ArmA buildings, majority of the time, 4 guys are not required. Yeah, maybe in ArmA 4. Probably not. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to head out to the Urban Warfare Center. And yeah, I'm going to start kind of ripping you guys through this kind of I guess, tutorial, if you will. So we'll go ahead and go full screen here. And let's go out to the Urban Warfare Center. Alright. And I don't even need a rifle for this one, really. Well, actually, I better grab one just in case I do need to show you guys something here. And we'll throw a quick laser on it so you guys can see where I'm pointing easily. Alright, so we've seen this area before. We've seen the Urban Warfare Center in the last tips and tricks thing that I did. This is kind of the interior that I kind of briefly went over, and you know, telling you guys that this is part of the base template. Anybody that's in the unit can, you know, come on here on the base training template, check this out, use it, so on and so forth. So let's hop into Zeus here so we can get us a nice overhead view. Alright, so what you guys are looking at here, this kill house, like I said, is much bigger than pretty much anything we're ever going to see in ArmA, with a handful of exceptions. So what I wanted to do tonight is show you guys how this would be done with a full, in reality, what would be a 9-man element for us, a 10-man element being a full squad. 2 4-man teams, and then your squad leader and your medic sitting here. So what I have basically laid out for you guys here is how a breach would be set up on a building this size properly. Remember last time, or the last video like this that we did, I talked about how we do things kind of against the grain, in the sense that we have 2 elements clearing at the same time. Oftentimes 2 fire teams from the same squad will be clearing different buildings at the same time. In reality, you don't do that. This, especially a building this size, you would not want, say, your front team here, your breaching element, you would not want them inside clearing while these guys are over clearing another building across the street from them. It's just way too big of a building, too many possibilities for shit to happen. I would never, ever, as a squad leader, be comfortable sending 4 of my guys into this building and sending the other 4 guys across the street from them. It would not fly. So what you would do from a squad lead element, or squad lead perspective, is you would have your breach team stack up, ready to breach just like normal. And then you would have your other element, your security element. Basically, they're stacked up as well, but they're not going to be breaching into the building unless you're doing a multiple entry point breach, which is very, very difficult to do, especially if you're working with guys that you don't normally work with, and they don't have the same level of training as you, and so on and so forth. I've done a few multiple entry point breaches within ArmA. It can turn into a shit show pretty quickly, especially if guys are a little quick on the trigger and don't PID their stuff properly, and guys aren't making the proper callouts before they round corners, so on and so forth. Anyways, long short, not generally a good idea to try multiple entry point breaches within this kind of setting, unless your squad is very fucking cohesive and it's the same 8 dudes every single time, week in and week out. So in actuality, what this team is going to be doing is they're going to be finding the secondary entry point. Okay, your primary entry point is where your breach team is going in. It doesn't matter if that's the back door or the front door. That's your primary entry point. That's where your entry team is going in. That's now primary. So even if it's a side door, not, you know, your front main entrance, or even if it's a tertiary entry, that is now your main entry point, because that's where your entry team is going in. So these guys are going to look for their secondary or even potentially a tertiary entry point. For them, though, it's not an entry point so much as it's really an exit point. They're moving there to secure that entry so that no one else can come in or out. This is part of that cordon that we talked about last time we were doing this. That's what this team is going to be doing. So they're stacked up kind of at the other end of the wall here. Once this team up here begins their breach, they're then going to bust this corner, move down the long wall, and come up to the back side of the building here, get to this entry back here, and then they're going to secure the secondary entry to the building so that nobody can get out, nobody can get in while these guys are inside here breaching and clearing. All right, so I'm going to set that up here real quick so you guys can kind of see what it would look like with them securing the back part before we actually go into breaching and clearing all this area. So as I said, before these guys even move off this position, these guys would start their breach. All four of these guys would move in, and then these guys would pull from their position, bust the corner, and move down. They're not going to move until these guys are inside the building. All right. So, again, pretend these guys are already in. So these guys are going to push down here. Especially your point man's pushing down all the way. He's, you know, pieing his corners and stuff as he should be, so on and so forth. And then he's going to get to here to his secondary entry point, and then basically in this fashion is going to secure this entry point. Obviously positioning is not exactly how you would be doing it. You know, you would be leaning around the corner, you would take a knee, so on and so forth. Just understand, you know, working with limitations of using AI. So once he has that entry point secured, this is much like the traditional danger crossing that you guys are used to seeing. He's got it secured from this angle. Now the number 2 can cross behind him, get on this side, and secure this angle here. And then number 3 can push up. Now where this is different is number 3 isn't following number 1, because number 1 is on this side. Well, if number 3 sets up in the proper security position for this, our proper security sector for this position, then he's going to be facing out like this. That means if number 4 follows number 2 like you traditionally do, he has to cross the barrel of number 3. So in this situation, number 3 is not following 1. He's pushing across directly behind 2 and covering his sector out there. And then number 4 rocks up, picks up his sector. Boom. Now you have the rear entry or the secondary entry point secured. And again, like I said, this isn't the exact, you know, angles and so on that these guys would be sitting at. You would take better cover. You'd be taking a knee, so on and so forth. I guess I can do that I can put these guys into a crouch real quick just to give you a little bit better idea here of how this would look. So now you've got secondary entry secured. These guys' flanks are secured by 3 and 4 here. Now this whole area is locked down, right? So what does that leave the squad leader and the medic doing in this situation? There's a couple of different options. Depending upon building size, levels, so on and so forth, they could actually tack on to the entry team, and now you got a 6-man element instead of a 4-man element, which is doable. It's a little clumsy, especially for, again, you know, buildings the size that ArmA has, but it is doable. More likely what is going to happen is the entry team, they've now pushed off of this position, then the squad leader and the medic are going to push up and secure this entry point, not from interior but exterior. So what I mean is, basically, I'll move these guys out of the way here real quick because you know how they stack up. Basically what's going to happen is these guys would set up here holding security outwards, all right, because they have a friendly element that just went in this entry point. There's no sense for them looking inwards. All they're going to be doing is flagging their buddies. So they're going to hold outer security, looking outwards of the entry point so that nobody can come in. All right, so boom, there's your squad leader and your medic covered. That's what they're doing. So now let's get into the entry guys. We'll move these guys out of the way. Set these guys back up over here. All right, so you have your traditional stack. Again, like with anything, it doesn't fucking matter who's on point. All right, whoever your best guy is in room clearing, put him on fucking point. You know, especially in your initial breach, your initial entry, that's always the most dangerous point when you make your first entry. So put him on point. Yes, I am aware, if you guys are seeing, of the other point over there. We're pretending that doesn't exist for the moment. So put him on point, rest of the guys follow. Fairly simple. So in this situation, obviously, point man's going to pie the corner real quickly. To explain something with this, I'll take control of this dude. If I'm pieing this as this point man, boom, that's where my pie stops. This is one of the things that people do that fucking piss me off to no end. Okay, when you pie a corner, you do not pass the threshold of said corner. It defeats the whole purpose, damn near, of pieing the fucking thing. You pie it, the whole reason that you're leaning out and cutting the angle is so that you can keep yourself behind as much cover as possible. Which means, if I'm like this, and I lean out like this, and then I cross into the funnel and do that, yeah, I get a better look at the left side of the room, but I just committed the cardinal fucking sin of entering the funnel without breaching the building. Why? If I'm pieing the fucking thing, I'm getting a look at the opposite side that I'm going. In this situation, which is going to be the right side of the room. So I'm automatically going to go left anyways. So I'm the first person that's going to get eyes on the left side of that room. Why put myself in the danger of going into this funnel and getting dropped right here? And now my buddy's got to deal with my dumbass laying out here. Or, say I make it safely, and I get over to this side. Okay, now we have a cross entry that we got to set up. Cross entries work. I'm a fan of cross entry breaching. However, when the guy across from you has little to no fucking practice on cross entry breaching, as most people do not have much practice on it, when you go, it oftentimes turns into a fumble fuck right in the doorway. And they end up running into you, and then the two of you are standing here doing the double Dutch rudder in the fucking front door while you get both shot in the side of the head. Keep it fucking simple. Simpler the better, especially when it comes to clearing a building. All right? Pie to your threshold, stop, and fall back. That simple. Then when you go to breach, obviously you're going left. All right? Now, another one of the things that, we do cover in OSET, but I still feel the need to, go over it again with you guys. If you're wrong, stay wrong. Right? If I'm that point man and I say I'm going left and I go right, keep your ass on the right-hand side of that fucking room. Because if you're the point man and you say you're going left and you go right and I'm number 2 and I see you go right, I'm automatically going left. It doesn't matter what I heard you call. I see your body in front of me going right, then I'm going left. And if you then try and cross back to the left, you're either going to run into me or you're going to run into number 3 trying to follow your dumbass in because he's going the opposite way that he sees my body going. You're wrong, stay wrong. Just stay the fuck over on that side of the room. Now that also means if you have what we consider a follow-through room, which is basically where you have 2 rooms that are separated by a super short wall, basically a wall that you're not generally going to be able to hide a body behind. Somebody's not going to be able to sit in the corner. It's what we would consider a follow-through room, where basically you go into the first room and then you just flow right through into the next room. You stay on your side of the fucking wall. Okay, don't cross into the center of the room, over to the other side, whatever other dumb shit. Just stick to your fucking wall. So, again, point man, he calls he's going left. He's going to push in to this hallway here. Get a little bit of more range here. So, notice that our entry point is very short. Okay? This is shit that you got to deal with. So, when he pushes in, I'm going to hold right here. I can get this right here. And something you have to understand is these movements obviously are going to be very quick. You're talking about seconds, fractions of seconds for mostly movements to be made. Obviously, it's a little bit more difficult when I'm having to manipulate the AI. So he's going to push up and he's going to hold short of that point right there. All right. He's not going to cross that threshold with his barrel. Number 2 is going to go right, push in just like normal, and then he's going to, as he pushes, he's going to pie the corner, or pie the opening for that guy there, right? By the time he's starting his pie there, number 3 is going to be right on his ass right here. Now he's going to be covering this entry point here. This guy's covering down the hall, so he's got basically along this entryway here, as well as this one here. This guy has this entry point, as well as this entry point. By that point, number 4 is coming into the building. He's right behind 2. Once he's pied up to this point and says it's good, then these 2 are immediately going in. He's going to hook the corner, check his near, far, center. This guy is going to go into the other corner, holding just like that. While these guys are pushing in, these 2 are going to push up. Sorry, to here. So now these guys are pushed up, but they're not breaching. They're holding. Okay, this is where it's important. These guys are holding because if they breach right now, this security now, or this hallway now has no security whatsoever. Which means somebody can come out of this room, somebody can come out of this room, and fuck up both teams. Now, this is a big change from what we would normally do in most ArmA operations, or what you would see most guys do, because they're always in a rush. You know, quick, 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 get it done, get it done, get it done. I'm one of those as well. I'm always in a rush, but I'm in a rush to where I feel safe being in a hurry, basically. I know I can move very quickly through rooms safely because I've done it a lot. Other guys just move through a room quickly because they're being told to hurry the fuck up. We don't have time for this. There is a difference. Okay, I'll slow down when it's important to fucking slow down. This is one of those situations where it's important to slow down. It takes just a half a fucking second of thought to realize, oh shit, if I'm this number 2 right here, if I go into this room on my right, nobody's covering these 2 fucking entries into this hallway. There's no security out here. Okay, that's where common sense comes into fucking play, man. So these guys are going to hold security here. What's then going to happen is the initial entry, or the initial 2 guys over here, 1 and 2, they have 2 options here. All right. One is not really what I would consider personally a viable option, which is to this guy hit this corner here and then hold security on that entry point, and then this guy actually push outside the room and hold security. And damn it. Hold security down there. I have seen this done before. I'm personally not a big fan of it, simply because it leaves this guy here so fucking exposed. He's got this entry point here as well as this entry point here. So not a real big fan of doing it this way. Personally, what I more prefer is what we would basically consider a simultaneous breach. It's not really a breach for these guys here, but it is for these guys. What I mean by that is, if these guys are inside this room, they're going to basically prep right here at this door and be communicating with the other 2 across from here. When they say go, this guy is going to hook the corner and get into this room, as is this guy. He's going to stick on his left wall. Okay, so these guys are going to go into this room. This guy is going to push up all the way up to this entry point right here. And then this guy is going to push up right on his ass and be holding this entry point here. All this is going to happen within 2 seconds, maybe. All right, so these guys are going to hook this corner. These guys are going to push the wall, push what we call our long wall, basically, in this situation. They're going to push their long wall to the far threat sector so that they can cover both this entry point and this entry point while these guys clear this room. Now, once this room is clear, these guys are then also going to prep just like this. Now, basically, this guy has pied at this point, even though he's pushed him up a little bit so he's not sitting on the threshold there. So this guy has pied the right side of the room for him. These guys are prepped right here, ready to go. So again, we're going to have that same simultaneous thing. Once these guys are stacked, ready to go, they're going to call to them, all right, go. As soon as they get the go code, These guys turn. Helps if I hit the right button. So that guy pushes in, hits left. This guy will hit right. These guys are going to push in. This guy will hit that corner. This guy will hit this corner. Boom. Now this room is secure. They've got it cleared. All right. Now, this guy, he's going to pie this entry here. Once he's pied it, knows it's good. This guy is then going to place himself right here, pretty much. Again, angles and shit. Not exactly the same way as you'd be doing it. He's then going to secure this entry. So now, these two come out. This guy falls back in with his buddy, because they've got this entry point secured. These guys push in. And they're going to move down the wall here. He's set up cover in there. So now he's got the best view down the hallway, right? This guy here. He can see down this hallway the best. He can see that there's an entry point on the right and an entry point forward or front. Again, we're pretending this entry point isn't here at the moment. So what's going to happen, this guy here, the AT4 on his back, he is not going to be the one to breach this hallway. Why is he not going to be the one to breach this hallway? Because to do so, he has to pass in front of the fucking machine gun that is currently holding security on the other angle. Yes, he could lower his weapon and allow him to cross, and they could do kind of a cross-style breach, but it's just clunky and unneeded. Alright, so this guy will be number one. He pushes in. He's securing direct forward. Number two is immediately going to push directly across the hallway. Now, what does that entail? God damn it. What does that entail, pushing directly across the hallway? Well, that means you got to cross into this funnel. But this guy is covering him. Well, at least the best he can with this, little shorty wall. But that's the only reason I would feel comfortable sending this guy directly across the goddamn hall and crossing this threshold here, or this opening, is because he is technically being covered by this guy. It's very, very unlikely that someone is going to be able to sit down at this end without being able to be seen by him. All right, because in reality, you're down here on this, in this position. This guy here, because you have that little shorty wall there, I'm going to be leaned out like this so that I can see that fucking end down there. All right. Now, I've also got this position to what would be, basically my 2 o'clock that I'm exposed to. So how do we deal with that? Well, once Zeus loads up here. All right, so we've got this guy again that pushed in first. This guy that goes across the hall. He's going to push up and hold short of this entry point here. Come on, fucking communicate. All right, so then we've got next guy that's going to push in, basically get right on his ass and cover that entry point, and then last man follows him in just like that. So now what's going to happen? Now we got this room on the right to clear. So very quickly, this guy's already seen the left side of the room from over here. So he's going to hook in, clear there. He's going to push in, clear there. Boom. You got your room clear. All right, now they're going to push back out. This guy is taking up position there. This guy is with him. Obviously, he's not going to have his barrel in the fucking ear of the dude in front of him. This guy is going to stack up here. And he's going to push up behind him. So then, they can see, all right, we've got 2 entry points right. We've got 1 near, 1 mid. We got an entry point left far. Okay, so what the fuck is all of that going to entail? Well, what's going to happen is these guys are immediately, because these guys can see into the room, see the left side a little bit. They can't see dick on the right. So what's going to happen is, again, we have that simultaneous movement. You're going to find that this happens a lot, especially with a 4-man element in a building this size. Everybody has to move at the same time. That's why communication is fucking huge in CQC, especially in clearing buildings this size. So these guys are immediately going to hook in, and this is where, again, communication is key. You have to be fucking right on top of each other. Like I was saying earlier, this is fractions of a second that it should be taking you guys to get around that corner, and then, 1 to 2 seconds by the time you're inside that room, hitting your initial marks, doing your primary sweeps. So these guys are pushing in, clearing this room. While these guys are pushing in, these two are pushing up their security. So they're going to punch up short of the threshold on this entry point. This guy is still, god damn it. This guy is still covering forward. This guy is covering his right. All right, so now, boom, they have their security set here. These two come out, continue up the same wall. So now, this is where things are going to get a little bit complicated, as if they weren't already complicated. Now, we have the luxury of knowing, because we have an overhead view, that there are a bunch more rooms on the left-hand side than the right.
You're so ugly,
right? We
you
have
could
2
be a
rooms
modern
left over
art
here before we get to
masterpiece.
the exit. Okay, we have the luxury of knowing that because we have an overhead view. Inside, you wouldn't know that. You have no fucking idea, other than if you have good spatial awareness, realizing, hey, based on, what this building looked like from the outside, it can't be that much deeper in front of us, and it sure as shit can't be that much deeper to our right, because we know this building is only, 80 feet long. But it takes a lot of experience to, look at a building, see the size of it, and then be inside of it and kind of figure out where you are spatially inside that building. So don't rely on that. Fall back on your remedials, all right, your basic shit, which in this situation is going to be split your element. What I mean is, this again, simultaneous movement. These guys can see best in the left side of the room. So this guy here, he's going to hook right, going to the room here. Now notice, he's got an entry point immediately on his left. This guy is going to push in. He clears his near corner. Okay. He's immediately going to hit this corner and secure this guy's left, because the near corner is basically non-existent, right? So then, that guy checked his near, far, boom, center of the room. He's got it secured. He's going to push across like this. While these guys are inside here, these two again are going to punch up their security. And they're now split from the rest of the element, because these guys now have to clear this final room. And these guys can see each other from here. But what they can't see specifically is these corners right here. They can see them to them a little bit, but you could still potentially hide a body or something in here. So you still have to clear this room. Now you could argue that you could bring your security element in to secure this room from there. No. Your clearing element, your breaching element, do all of the fucking clearing. Right? If you have a security element, they do not enter that fucking building unless there is a problem. Unless someone is injured and you've got to pull them out and replace them, you have to swap guys, whatever the issue may be. Either way, nobody from that security element enters that fucking building unless it's an absolute fucking emergency, just to avoid confusion, so on and so forth. All right. So once these guys see each other, again, you got to hope that this guy has the fucking wherewithal to PID his shit. Same with the guy here. Hope you don't fucking shoot each other. So these guys are then going to push in, clear their corners here. All right. So now they're fully cleared to the secondary entry point. Now they're going to come all the way the fuck back out and fall back into their normal 4-man stack and get ready to clear the rest of the building. All right. Now the rest of the building's pretty fucking straightforward, right? This guy pies, sees the right hand side of the room, he hooks, he's going to push right up to this entry point. He's not, again, fucking AI. He's not going to cross into the threshold of that entry point. He's going to be holding security straight forward, which is going to be straightforward from this entry point, and he's also watching down this short chute, or this little hallway, if you will. And then, number 2, he pushes in here. Now, this is where you will notice sometimes that entry guys will move off of what would technically be considered the entry wall. In reality, this isn't a entry wall on this side. This is what we call a corner entry for a building or a room. If you guys look at fucking, which one is the one I wrote? SLC. If you look at SLC, there's graphs or pictures in there to show you guys exactly whose responsibility or whose sector is whose and where you should be on your walls as an entry team, depending upon central located door and corner located door. In a corner located door, your entry wall obviously on one end is going to be either short or non-existent. In that situation, you have to push down what we call our long wall. So that's what would happen here. However, number 3 takes up his normal spot here, but he's not going to be stacked right up on him purely because he doesn't want to cross this threshold. Now, in this situation, he doesn't really have anything to cover here. So he's going to pick up basically right off of his fucking barrel, covering that entry there. Now this right here is basically how you would be stuffed into this fucking corner, because you don't want to cross this entry until number 3 has this spot secured, and then this is where the fucking kung fu kind of comes into play. What's going to happen here is 1 is going to push up just short of the fucking entry point to give 3 room. He takes a knee, and then we'll secure this just like a fucking danger crossing. While he's doing that, come on, fucking agree with me here. We're being a cunt. While he's doing that, 3 is going to push down the wall, hit his near corner, and be over top of him, covering down the hallway there. Obviously, this guy's going to be fucking stuffed up there as much as he can be. But ArmA says, fuck you. So then, these guys can cross this threshold and push up to this next entry point here. So now, he turns, takes a look in there, sees the left side of the room is somewhat clear. You can see the right side of the room is somewhat clear. But he's still going to go left because it's the closest corner. They still have the least amount of information on it, so on and so forth. So then, this is secured by him, by the Grenadier. This is currently being secured. So this guy's going to look, let him know, all right, you look good left. And then he's going to drop his sector, turn back, secure this. He's going to punch in, go left. He's going to go across and go right. Boom. This room is now secure. Then they're going to come out. He's stacked up there. He's stacked up there. Obviously, he would be standing. Now you can do your normal setup. In this situation, personally, this is where I personally would like to use a cross breach. You don't necessarily have to, this guy can button hook here. This guy, not really a button hook. You just kind of sidestep the short wall and then push up. Again, this is where I personally would like to use a cross breach. Now, the main thing is here, because the entry point is on the left-hand side, you want somebody on the right-hand side of the room first. That's something that most people probably wouldn't think about. If you're in a hallway and your closest entry point is on the left, you want somebody on the right wall sooner, because they're the guy that's going to have the better angle to pie that entry point or hold security on it. So you want the guy hitting left first. So that means that the Grenadier here, he's going to cross. He's securing that way. He's going to cross. He's securing this way. And then it's just like a normal hallway coming up to, a T of another hallway. Guy's doing the normal cross setup like that. And then, okay, look good left, look good right. All right, go. And then they're going to button hook around the corner. This guy is sticking on his entry wall. This guy is sticking on the far wall. This guy is hitting here. This guy is hitting here. Boom. Now the entire building has been cleared. Okay. Now notice that nobody was holding rear security the entire time. This is something that guys get hung up a lot on, because we tell you guys, always maintain rear security. Reason that there was nobody maintaining rear security is you had security on both your entry points, both your primary and your secondary entry point. Again, we're not taking this tertiary entry point into account. Okay, you've got your secondary secured back here by your security element. Got your primary secured up here by your squad lead and your medic, which again, for us, we get away with a little bit more bullshit because we have one extra man. So nobody needed to hold rear security. Both your entry points are secured. Nobody is coming in behind you. Everybody can have frontal security. And real quickly, Yogi with the 10 spot. Yes, my mouth is the best weapon. Thank you for that. And also Rav, thank you, brother, for that 2-month resub. Glad you're still kicking around here, bud. I'm gonna take me a drink of sweet coffee, and give you guys time to think of anything, any questions that you may have here. Oh god, that is good coffee. And also, I would like to hear from you guys. Hear from you guys in chat. If you do think it would be a good idea to turn this into kind of a series, if you will, of like tips and tricks and shit. Yes, I understand what you meant, Yogi. I was being an ass. You had best unfuck yourself or I will unscrew your head. But yes, communication is key. I mean, you know that I drilled that into you guys all the fucking time. Hey, Mr. Shank the Noob with the 3-month resub. Hopefully you are doing well tonight, brother. For those of you guys hanging out that don't know, Shank has informed me that he is making his return to ArmA streaming tomorrow evening at, I believe, 2000, a time that you guys are used to watching. So yeah, tomorrow, 2000, you should be watching that sexy bastard. Sounds like a good idea. You're more colorful than Dyslexy? Well, that's only because I have like 80% of my body tattooed. Aha, see what I did there? Colorful. Fill a 2-dimensional scenario where there's no vertical secondary floor involved, like a 2-story lobby. Will the scenario be discussed as such? Yeah, actually, I can go over that for you right now. Okay, so what would you do in a situation with a room this size if there was a second story, right? If there's a second flight or a second level that you need to move up to, so that means there's a flight of stairs somewhere in this building. All right, we'll say, for example, that it's right here in this room. We'll say this isn't actually a room. This is a staircase that goes up, you know, to the second story. We'll say it's 2 sets of steps with a landing right here, you know, 10 feet up. How do you then handle that situation? Because you cannot leave that stairway unsecured, right? You can't continue moving through the building, clearing it. Then you would have to have rear security. But at that point, if you continue moving through and you end up back here, even if your guys got rear security, dude could bust out this way and come out your primary entry point and shoot your fucking squad leader in the side of the head. So what the fuck do you do in that situation? Well, let's pull our team back there and discuss it a little bit.
What the fuck is that? What is that, Private Pile?
Come back, my pretties. Alright, so remember what we talked about a little bit ago when I told you guys if you can do it with 4, you can do it with 2, right? That's exactly it. Imarith, this is where you would have to split your element. Now, don't get me wrong, it makes the job more difficult purely from a threat level standpoint because you're not going to have security in the same way that you would with the full 4-man element, like what we did up here where we, you know, push the 2 guys, push their security up like this while the other 2 were back in here clearing this. Obviously, you're not going to be able to do that if you have a split element, okay? So that means, I want to pull one of them. If that, I think it was this room that we said the stairs were in. Either way, it doesn't matter. So if the stairs were in here, and the stairs, basically the start of the stairs is where this guy is standing right now, then he would be holding security on the stairs. This guy is going to be out here maintaining security in the hallway. And then these guys have the fucking shitty honor of having to clear the rest of the building solo. Well, not solo, but, you know, just with their one-man or two-man element. So they're going to do just like normal. They're going to still push in just like the two guys did over here. They'll push into a two-man breach on this. Then they'll push into a two-man breach on this because it's the closest entry. Then they'll push in, do two-man on this. Now in this situation, specifically where you have a split like this, okay, so these guys come in, do a normal two-man breach, right? And then they push into here and set up like this, okay? Now you're split. And you have to stay split because you have two threat areas here. You have this entry point here, this entry point here. No one is necessarily all that much closer, you know, a couple of feet difference, but you're not going to want to cross back across the room. Okay, so luckily the building kind of works with you here. If we're both pushing up like this, and I push up on level with him, I can see because of that short wall that there is nobody on the right side of this room. A person cannot possibly hide behind that short little wall without me seeing them from this angle. So I can tell him, your left is, or your right is clear, go. He can then do what we call now limited entry. This was used to be years and years and years ago. This would just be considered fucking blasphemy because you're going in a room by yourself. Now it's kind of relaxed a little bit, you know, as I've talked about before with you guys, the Israelis doing the limited entry, that's kind of gaining a little bit more traction. So this guy would basically set up right here, lean in, peek his corners real quick, see that it's good. All right, clear. And then he's going to come out, pie this angle basically for this guy, and then he's going to hook the corner like normal. He's going to push down his wall and set up like that. All the while, these guys are just sitting here on security. This is a situation where if something happens to these two down here, these guys ain't moving. That's where your security element comes into play. All right. So these guys are holding security. Say team lead goes down, our rifleman. Okay, rifleman goes down. This guy was here. He breached into here. Boom, he goes down. What now happens? All right. This is actually something that I'm glad this all came about because this is something that we don't really cover. What happens when this guy goes down? Most everybody's immediate reaction is to push across this fucking hallway and then peek in here and get shot in the face, and now both of them are down in the same spot. Right? That's what most people would do, correct? So, what you should actually do, this guy gets dropped while I was sitting here. Back off. There is a time when moving backwards is smarter than fucking moving forwards. This is one of those times. Back off. I'm going to move back into here and lock down this entry point from right here on this fucking corner. Why? Because this is the last area that we secured. I know that there is no hostile threat inside this area. And then nobody can come up behind me here. Okay? Now, I'm going to call my security element. Say, hey, I need a body in here. Security element's going to come in. He'll make his entry just like that. Then he'll come in right behind him, or vice versa, however these guys want to make their entry point. And then these guys fall into their outer security. You know, like I said, it all depends on how these guys want to enter the room. You know, you could do a traditional fucking both guys button hook. It really doesn't matter in this situation. So these guys are going to clear this building in reverse, basically. From the secondary entry, they're going to push to here and then push in like this. This guy is going to come up to here, pie that. Good, good. All right. Then they're going to go into the hallway here. This guy is going to push across like that. This guy is going to button hook. You know, the guy can cross or the guy can button hook first. Really not a huge deal. They're going to, you know, see each other, obviously. Then these guys are going to push across the hall like this. They'll push in like that. Now you've got all three guys on this point. Okay, this guy is still down in here. Now the reason that I'm not going to push this guy, even if, like you said, Cam, you flash it first. there's still that chance that he's flashed, yeah, but he could still, especially in ArmA, the flash could have no effect, and he could still down me. And now I'm by myself. And these guys over here holding security have no idea what's going on. And it's going to take them a second to realize, okay, he's not responding on comms, now both of them are down. Instead, I back off and get extra fucking firepower in there, so I'm not solo, I'm not going in there by myself, I'm not potentially getting shot in the back by a threat that's over in this room while I try and breach this fucking room. So now, I'm going to push in from here, button hook this corner again. I got security on that same fucking entry point. I got another guy coming over here. And then this guy can go either way. I would send him over with this guy because there's, again, a known threat. We talked about this before. Or actually, I think that was during a squad training that I went over this. A known threat and an unknown threat. You always engage the known threat first, which sounds like common sense, but you would be amazed. What it means is if you know there's a combatant within a building, a room, whatever, then you move to that threat. You don't say, if you know there's a shooter 2 buildings down and you can hear him engaging, you know he's down there, or you know he's in the next building. That doesn't mean you just continue clearing the building you're currently in. You know, like, oh, well, okay, we're going to pretend he's not there until we get down to the next building. No, you push to that threat. You engage the known threat first. If that means passing a building that potentially has a threat in it, that's fine, but that's an unknown threat. You have no way of knowing that guy is in there until he becomes a known threat, until he starts engaging you as you try and pass him, which then you deal with it then. Otherwise, you circle back and clear it, retrograde, pull back, clear it, and then continue moving forward. But you always move to the known threat first. So these guys, then they're going to flash, breach, drop the dude. Then they're going to work on him as best they can. Though generally what you want to do in this situation is they are going to stabilize him as best they can. Okay, so he's going to work on him. This guy is now going to be his battle buddy. He's going to push across. They're going to clear this. Boom. Boom. Now this is clear. All right, how do you deal with this casualty that's still in here, though? This guy's going to secure him. They're now going to call for Mike. Mike is not going to move through this fucking building by his goddamn self. Not going to happen. Well, it may, but it shouldn't, is what I should say. So, this is where homeboy here pushes over, links up with him. Now, this guy can push back through to these guys here, move all the way back out to your primary entry point, make contact with Mike, and then lead Mike through here. Sorry, where's my other guy? There he is. So he's going to make contact with Mike. Oops, if I can grab both of them. They're now going to move through the building. This guy is pulling back here, setting up security with him. They're now pulling back here. Mike's now got him. This guy's moving out here. They're holding here. Mike gets him back up. He pulls out. Mike pulls out. They both move back. Mike is replaced by that guy.
I will PT you all until you fucking die!
These guys move to here. And these guys go back on outer security. Here. I know that seems like a lot of shit that I just went through, but it's basically you're just playing round robin with guys. What it's basically for is so that nobody's moving through the building by themselves. What most guys would do is immediately call Mike as soon as you push in and clear this fucking threat. And then, you know, maybe they'll be smart enough to clear this first. Most of the time they're not. They're just immediately going to call Mike. They call Mike. Mike's going to come fucking running into the building by himself. And for all he knows, something happened. These two guys went down in the firefight, during the firefight that was going on down here. This entry point of the staircase is no longer fucking secure. Mike's going to run his happy ass through here and get blindsided in the side of the head by some dude standing here with fucking AK-47. Now you got Mike down in the center of the room and nobody has any idea because the two guys that were securing the staircase are down. All these guys over here heard were gunshots and they have no idea what it was because the motherfuckers over here can't tell them what it was because they're knocked out. Yes, exactly. Always move with security. All right, so that's the whole fucking hokey pokey back and forth bullshit that you're doing with that. You're just making sure that guys are not moving by themselves, especially fucking Mike. Medics have a goddamn habit of wanting to just haul ass and run headlong into any casualty situation, and it tends to get more people fucked up than it does help. So keep that in mind. So you've dealt with the casualty. Everybody falls back to your spots. Mike was back out here. These guys can then push upstairs and continue clearing onto the second floor. So that is basically how you would move through this if you had a second floor that you had to move to, or third floor, fourth floor, whatever, however many floors. That same 4-man entry team just keeps moving up and up and up. Your security element maintains their same fucking position on outer security. Again, they do not enter the fucking building unless they absolutely must. And very quickly, Cope with the 20 spot said he was on lunch. Have a great one. Right on, bro. Hopefully you had a good lunch or are still having a good lunch, bro. Alright, so now let me try and catch up on chat here a little bit. Oh, Christmas plans got in the way of Shank's streaming. I swear to Christ. You're going to give me blue balls. Clearing stairs upstairs or downstairs? What do you mean, Cam? Like, how do you move upstairs? Like, how do you actually go up the stairs or down the stairs? I'm assuming that's what you mean, but I want to kind of make sure. Yeah, it's still the same, Yogi. Well, I read your question, Cam, but I'm not sure exactly what you mean by up and down the stairs, unless you mean just how you travel up and down the stairs. Which I guess we can move over to one of the other buildings that actually has stairs in it here real quick. This one, yeah, this one has them. So to do downstairs is the same thing as upstairs, just in reverse. Still the same way. Generally, when you're going downstairs, though, it's a little bit easier because you only have one threat area to cover, which is down. When you go up, you have your forward and your up. When you're going down the stairs, generally that means you've already cleared your up, so you've only got direct forward to clear. So going downstairs tends to be easier than going upstairs. Upstairs, the only reason it's dangerous is because of that shit. Balconies, landings, shit like that. So that's why majority of the time when you see me go upstairs, you'll generally, because most stairs within ArmA aren't wide enough to do it the way we're taught to do it, which is 2-man shoulder to shoulder, or even one guy kind of back to back. Most stairs aren't really that big enough for that, or, you know, just your coordination isn't that great in ArmA. So generally what you'll see me do is when I go upstairs, like in this situation, if I came into this building, I would come up these stairs, I'd immediately turn that way, clear that, and then hit like that. So I would always clear my high. Now, the way you would normally do this is I would have somebody, we'll say to my right here, shoulder to shoulder with me. We'll set this guy up here. And actually, since my turn is to the right, I would want him on my left. So I would set up on the right side of the stairwell here. Look up the stairs. And then this guy is going to be on my left, looking rearward. All right, and we both move up shoulder to shoulder. So one's covering direct forward, the other one's covering our high as we move up. And then me as the point man, I'm going to push up, make my fucking hook on the landing. And then this guy is going to push up and push right along the fucking wall, if I can get the fucking camera to agree here. And then you're both facing forward. All right, so that's the way you would do it with kind of the more traditional wider steps. If you don't have steps wide enough, then you're going to move up back to back, which is a little bit more dangerous for the point man, but it's about the most secure you're going to get. Or like a lot of the buildings that you'll see. Let me see if I can find one real quick on the map here. Alright, these houses. These are a good example. Let me teleport myself over here real quick, and I'll show you what I mean. Alright, so if I came in here, I would be holding security on this. Now, the vast majority of time, as I said, your coordination and shit like that isn't really going to work to move up this stair, well, back to back. So what you'll generally see me do is move up the stairs, boom, clear high, then do like that. It's a very quick movement. In reality, you wouldn't do it like that. But, again, ArmA be ArmA. So, you know, that's generally what you're going to see me do every single time I go up a set of stairs. Even if, you know, it's a wall, just a flat wall there, I don't fucking know that from sitting down here. So as soon as I get like midway up these stairs, I'm going to spin around, check my high, and then continue my way on up the stairs. And then like in this room, or this building specifically, because you'll end up clearing this specific style of building a lot. In this situation, if I'm the point guy, I push up, clear like that, and then I hold on this door, and whoever's with me, I always tell them to go left. Because this is an basically unknown area on my right. I don't know what's behind this fucking door. If something happens, you know, if I send a guy to my left and he pushes across over here and he pies this fucking corner properly and somebody's back here, he should be able to drop him. But if something happens and he just rounds this corner and gets shot, this door is still basically secure unless someone decides they want to walk out of it. But it's still the better option if you're only a two-man element in here. Send the one guy left. Something happens to him, then I can move left, push around, deal with that threat, and then push over here, hold security on this while I get another element inside the building, and I just hold security on this fucking door until my security element gets up here, someone stacks up right there where I was at, then we can push in, clear this fucking room like you normally would, then we can get Mike in here, clear the building. So that's how you would move upstairs as a two-man set, or how you would move upstairs solo based upon the limitations of ArmA. As I said, moving down the stairs is a lot easier because your high is already secure. Because you're coming from the high, you only have to cover direct forward. Very simple to go downstairs. And also, Flex Seal, thank you for the follow. I'm not sure if I caught that before, but awesome name. Hopefully Billy Mays Hayes fucking endorsed your name. All right, so yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of clearing buildings. I mean, like, you know, Yogi said there, your mouth is your best weapon, and he's not. That's not just, you know, a joke or, you know, anything like that. That's true. Like we were talking about earlier with, you know, all the fucking moving around and shit and the simultaneous movements that you got to pull off in a building like this. Communication is absolutely fucking key, man. Like, that's why you constantly need to be talking. And provided, you know, you practice, if you practice in buildings like this, especially in live fire scenarios, and you learn how to competently clear a building like this as a four-man element, you can go into most ArmA fucking buildings and just Shrek it. Because that shit is simple compared to a building like this. A layout like this is a fucking nightmare for a four-man element. Especially if you've got 3, 4, 5 shooters in this building. That's pretty fucking rowdy. So if you can do this fairly well time and time again as a four-man element, then yeah, you can go into a fucking ArmA building with 2 guys and smoke that thing no problem. So that's why, you know, I mean, Yogi was in 1.4 back in the day. I used to build shoot houses like this for those guys, and I would have them run the same fucking shoot house over and over and over as 4-man elements until I felt they were up to my standards. And they would just keep running the same fucking shoot house until I thought they were good enough. Then, when the time did come for them to clear fucking buildings, they went in there and rocked shit to the point that the company commander at that point in time, Whitby, came to me personally and was like, hey, that was, impressive watching your weapons guys clear buildings like that. But that is wise because they had to go through a shoot house like this over and over and over again. And it got fucking drilled into them. Doing one training where you have a fire team go through a shoot house like this once and say, oh, well, you guys screwed up this, this, and this. All right, you better learn from it. And then that's the end of their training on clearing a building. It's not a fucking training. Like, you haven't even started to scratch the surface of being able to, basically work that muscle memory into them. You've got to run this thing 10 times, 15 times per element, per team, before they really start to get it. And you have to change it up each time. You have to change which rooms the enemies are in. You have to throw a friendly in there. You have to throw a civilian in there. Just to keep them on their toes and keep them always thinking and not just go into automatic, okay, I'm going to check this corner on the left and there's going to be a guy there, so on and so forth. Change it up on them. Change which entry point they come in. Have them the first 3-4 times, come in this entry point. Next 3-4 times, go in that entry point. Next 3-4 times, you go in that entry point. And you just keep doing it over and over until finally it's to a point where they just move fluidly through any fucking building that you put them in. Because no matter the shape, no matter how many rooms, no matter where the entry points are, they just know what their job is. They know what sectors to hit. They know where in the wall they should be. You're good to go. Would you clear a massive building like the hotel that is 7 stories high? Same way we went over this one here. Exact same way. You just move up floor by floor. But you would do it just like we talked about earlier with, you move through just like anything else, then you push up to your next level. Now, obviously, it becomes a little bit different when, you still have to hold security on that stairwell. So that means that you get to the second story. If there's a third story above that, then the 2 guys that are doing the clearing have a lot more fucking responsibility. Well, not necessarily a lot more responsibility, but they have a much tougher job than the 2 guys holding security. But if something happens to those 2 guys, then you got to get your security element in there. They got to get up the stairs. They got to come in, fucking help finish securing the area, take care of the wounded, the whole song and dance that we showed you guys earlier. But it's still the same process. It doesn't matter if it's 1 floor or 30 floors. Still the same thing that you go through every single time. Obviously, if it was, 30 stories, you would have more than 1 4-man element going in there. You would have entire fucking squad going in there and then a squad outside on security and shit like that. But still pretty much the same principles. Yeah, put multiple squads in there. It's one of those where it's really on, especially the squad leader, to recognize if he has the manpower to fight that fight. What I mean is, the reason that a squad leader is in that position is because they've shown that they have the leadership capabilities to, one, be able to take care of those guys on a level of, hey, making sure they're all right, they got their gear, so on and so forth, but also being able to take care of those guys on a strategic level and look at a situation and understand whether or not they are fit to fight. If they are not fit for that fight, basically, if a squad leader looks at a building and says, I don't have enough guys for that, that's why they're in that position. Hopefully, they're smart enough to be able to look at a building and realize, hey, I don't have enough guys. I need another squad over here with me. Or, hey, I've got too many guys. I'm going to have a larger security element and a smaller, entry element, breaching element, whatever. So a lot of that is going to rely on the squad leader. A very good example of that real quickly is Sunday. For any of you guys that were watching the operation, this wasn't a CQC situation per se, but just kind of a situation of a squad leader not necessarily being out of his depth. He was a little bit, because we were kind of doing things he's not really accustomed to. But Sunday I was filling in with 2-4, and there was a GMG. It was a mark. We didn't know at the time that it was a mark. But there was a GMG lighting up some sister squads that were kind of off our left flank about 100 meters or so. And the GMG didn't have an angle on us. It was not firing on us. So me as an AG, an assistant gunner, I recognized a situation that we were in, that our sister squads to our left were in, and realized that we were in a position to maneuver on where the suspected position was at based upon what I could hear. We were in a position to move on that in complete cover and not be, not be engaged by it, or at least not have a high threat of being engaged by it. So I sent the request up. Request got approved, but I told Patty, who was my team leader at the time, hey, we're going to need a squad over here to move with us, because I could tell that it was a little ways away. Patty basically misunderstood me and thought I meant the rest of our squad. What I was saying to him was, hey, send up to the squad leader in case he doesn't recognize this, that, we need another squad, as in another rifle squad, to move with us, because we're moving a pretty good ways away. We don't have the manpower to fight, a potential fight up there, because we don't know what's over the other side of this fucking defilade. So let's bring a squad with us. No, we got the fucking manpower for it. He didn't understand it that way, which that was my fault. I didn't communicate it as clearly as I should have, given the situation and kind of lack of experience in that case. So we maneuvered on it anyways. We're a weapons element, but we maneuvered on it, and we put ourselves a little bit out of a position. We did walk. I fucking walked us right up onto the thing, to the point that it scared the shit out of me. Luckily, somebody had already killed it, but the point was, the squad leader unfortunately didn't recognize himself that he had placed us in a position where if we had got into a gunfight, nobody could really support us, because we were too far away and we didn't bring somebody with us. Now, that is a mistake on his end, but it's an understandable mistake. That's something that you have to learn with experience, and especially now that he's a squad leader, that's something that he's really going to learn. But that's what makes oftentimes a very good squad leader, or even sometimes team leaders, is that ability to recognize when they're outgunned, or could potentially be outgunned, and know to call for fucking help. So yeah, there's a long fucking rant for you on knowing when you're not enough. As I grab me another sip of my coffee here. All right. So I think we're going to wrap it up here. This was a short stream, but it was, planned to be a short stream. Hey, and Taco. Yes, indeed. Coffee is the joy of all of us. But, yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up here. This was planned to be a short stream. Like I said, I am highly considering making this into kind of a series that we'll be doing. As I said, next one will probably be either fire and maneuver or mounted operations. As I know that was one that you guys requested. So what do we got going on the rest of the week here? Firstly, tomorrow afternoon, we have OSUT Day 3. That'll be at 1300. And then I don't have anything planned currently for tomorrow evening. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure exactly what Ron is up to. I don't know what time he's supposed to be home tomorrow, if he is working tomorrow. But I'm possibly going to be playing some games with him. And then Sunday, we have OSUT Day 4. And then Sunday evening, we have the S3 sponsored, or whatever you want to call it, fun op for the unit, which will be op tray. So the entire unit will be doing a gigantic fucking Halo mission on Sunday at 2000 normal time. and then just kind of the normal week madness. The only thing that's changing for me right now during winter stand down is that we don't have squad training on Friday, and that every other Saturday we don't have that Task Force Charlie operation. So there's going to be some other stuff filling those slots, especially once the PlayStation gets here and we get the capture card and all that good to go. So yeah, that's really the only difference, aside from also the podcast. If you guys weren't listening to the podcast last week, the podcast is no longer going to be streamed live. That's going to be a recorded thing that we will pre-record and then will be released via Patreon for all you guys that support me on Patreon, and that'll only be available to you guys on Patreon. It's no longer going to be a live stream podcast, purely for logistical reasons, being able to get people on there and stuff. It's a pain in the ass to get guys that are available on a specific night and time. Much easier to just record. So yeah, that's going to wrap it up for tonight. Hopefully I will see most, if not all, of you bastards tomorrow afternoon for day 3 of OSET, and then Sunday for our normal fucking shenanigans. So yeah, I will see all of you beautiful bastards later.